Hi, this is Dave Mason, and you're listening to Retrospectives with John Broughton on KC Radio 97.7 FM.
But just to begin with, I'd like to go back to your childhood. Do you have any early musical memories from your childhood that you can now look back on and say, well, that's a point where I really started to get into music?
Oh God, wow. I guess just seeing somewhat, what was going on when I first, when it kind of first with the Shadows and the Beatles. I mean, my whole thing was basically when I was a young kid, and my dream was to go in the Royal Air Force.
Ah.
But unfortunately, my math skills weren't up to par. So, and I guess I just sort of, I guess in a way I kind of looked around and saw all these other people doing this, making music, and I figured, you know what, I could do that. I like music anyway. So it just sort of felt I got into it.
Talk about your early bands prior to Traffic. Was there a connection musically with those bands to the music that you made with Traffic?
Well, the Traffic, there was there's a lot of musical differences in there, which is what kind of made it great, or could have probably made it better, even bigger than it was. But because I was only there for 2 albums, I mean, my sensibilities are probably more pop orientated. Yeah. I like a hook. I like a story. I like the song. Eventually, getting into songwriting was what sort of changed everything for me, because I realized that's kind of where I needed to be. But my sensibility, I suppose, is more pop. I love all kinds of music. From jazz, pop, gospel, to Bulgarian music, Indian music, just a lot of genres, and blues, and a lot of what I weave in is very blues orientated, because it's the roots sort of thing. So that gets woven in there.
I believe "Hole in My Shoe" was the first song you ever wrote.
I mean, actually, when you think, Jim Capote and I, we had a band called The Deep Feeling. And, our little musical repertoire was pretty eclectic. We went from Oscar Brown Jr. to the Beatles and everything in between. So we were very, because we weren't under the restrictions there in England with what the kind of music was being played back then. In America, black music was not on white radio. So, whereas in Europe, it was just all mixed up. It didn't matter.
Yeah. Now, I believe "Hole in My Shoe" was your first ever songwriting effort. Is that right?
I'm sorry?
"Hole in My Shoe" was your first songwriting effort?
"Hole in My Shoe" was the first song I wrote.
Yeah.
Well, other than actually, Jim and I did write a song called "Shades of Blue" that was on a flip side of a record we made for Pie with another group we had called the Hellions.
What did that do for your confidence, though, as a songwriter, to have that kind of success so soon with one of your early songwriting efforts?
Well, it was the first song that I personally ever wrote, but it was so... it was so... it wasn't a straight-out song. It was more of a conceptual piece.
Yeah.
And... it went to number 2 in England, and it was a hit in Europe, and so it was. I was really too young to kind of get it. In fact, that's why I left the band the first time after the first album. It was all just too much for me too soon.
Yeah.
I was like 18, 19 years old, and I'm just like, I'm basically a country. My childhood was very like Tom Sawyer in a lot of no restrictions then. I was building ramps and running through cornfields and just so that's how I kind of grew up. So all that stuff was very different from me.
Yeah. You did leave the band after that first album and came back again for the second. Were those issues that prompted you to leave the first time still apparent on your return?
Well, no. I mean, I spent some time doing stuff. I helped produce an album called "Music in a Doll's House" by Family.
Yep.
And I'd also build a sort of. I put out a couple of singles, a record, a single called "Little Woman." I forget what the backside of it was, but most of Traffic played on it. I kind of goofed around and played on different sessions during that whole period, and I got to know Hendrix, and so that's how all that stuff started happening. And then, and I'd been to the States, coming over here, so I had, and that's where actually we got back together. Was at the, I'm pretty sure it was at the record plant in New York, and they had 5 songs for a new album, and that was it. And I'd gone away and been doing some writing to get into writing, and I had said, well, I got 5 songs, and of course one of those was Feeling All Right, and another song called All Join In, but I had 5 other songs. So we started, so it was like, okay, well, great, let's finish the album, kind of thing. And then it just became a problem because then my songs were always picked as the singles. So it somewhat developed a rift there, and hence the final, the final chapter of Dave being in Traffic.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that was that. With that little, I mean, in a nutshell, with that era, that sort of involvement. But I did a number of other things. I mean, I got to play on Street Fighting Man and sang on a version of Cross the Universe. I mean, that's when I did a lot of those things where I'm on different records. Like, how the hell did you ever get on that stuff?
Yeah.
So it was just all in that kind of period.
Has it been a little bit frustrating for you over the years, people focusing mainly on you as a member of Traffic, when really in the greater scheme of things it was such a short portion of your career?
Well, it's always there because but I mean, my body of work is my personal body of work is way larger than just Traffic.
Yeah, of course.
So, is it frustrating? I don't know. It's just, it's kind of like I look at it like it's a well-kept secret or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's doing an interview with me from Australia, and I've never been there.
It's amazing.
Never played there, and not that I know exactly how popular my music was there. So I imagine if it was hugely popular, I would have been there before now. But it'd be nice to go there, to put it in my bucket list.
We'd love to have you. What was the initial catalyst for you relocating to America?
Well, Traffic was over, and that wasn't happening, and I had I'd made I knew the people in Delaney and Bonnie. I'd met them over the time, and I knew Graham Parsons. And looking around in England, I kind of decided to a combination of a couple of things. One was that if I'm going to pursue this, then I'd rather, and they were only just starting to get known in America at that point. They weren't really big at all. So, but I just went, you know what, I'm going to go where it all started, where rock and roll and jazz and blues and all this all started, which is America. And I think I'm just going to up and leave. And of course, another impetus was the fact that it was 98 cents in dollar taxes in England at the time. So it was like, that ain't definitely not going to work. So it was like, go west, young man.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he did. I just me and a guitar and a suitcase, and left England and flew to Los Angeles. And I went from there, kind of winging a prayer.
By the time of your first solo record, you were well settled in America. Do you ponder, or do you think the music-wise, your first solo album would have gone down a different path had you remained in England?
Well, it wouldn't be what it wouldn't be what it became. I mean, and those were songs. There were 8 songs on there, and I'm not really, I'm not that prolific. I just, it was 8 songs over the course of about 2 years of writing, and I fell into a situation with Tommy the Puma, and at the time, people like, all the people that became Derek and the Dominoes, or fell into all that thing, were the session guys here in L.A. at the time.
Yeah.
Leon Russell, Leon was just here in L.A., and Jim Gordon, Jim Keltner, Carl Radel, Rita Coolidge, all those people were just, they were a lot of session people. And that's who Tommy assembled to make that album, and I went for what I went for, which was just basically an acoustic bass track with drums and bass and some lead guitar and some songs.
I read you quoted elsewhere as saying that you weren't really all that interested in pursuing a full-on solo career at that time. Is that how you approached the recording of that first solo album, as if it would most likely be a one-off?
Pretty much. I never wanted to be a solo artist, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I never got into this business to be a quote, a star. I wanted to make some good music and, have some fun and make some money.
Yeah. After that, you recorded an album with Cass Elliot. Tell us how that came together and how you remember her.
Well, Cass there was a couple that I knew from England, Benny Carruthers and Judy, and I knew them really well from England, and it so happened that they were living at Cass's house on Mulholland Drive. And so that's how I got involved with Cass, and also through Graham Parsons, who took me up there first off.
Mm-hmm.
And it just one crazy ass summer. And Cass musically it was just, it is an odd combination, but she was she had a great sense of humor. It was really very smart, and just a great sense of humor, and it was a very big social 60s scene there, kind of thing. So. And crazy.
Like many artists, you've experienced more than your fair share of management and business deals gone wrong. What is the best lesson that you've learnt from those type of experiences?
Well, there's a lot. I don't know. I would just. It's hard to say. It's so. The whole business itself is just a leap of faith. There is no guarantees. There are a lot of people that I've met that are way more talented on the talent scale than myself, but you might never hear of them. It's just it's a combination of a lot of things. Most of it's all just like everybody else. It's a life lesson. It's a journey. And how you approach things. So I just say if somebody's going to be musically, at the same, especially if you're going to plan on making it your life, passion, and of course it becomes your business. So you better understand both aspects of it. And a lot of it's a craft in doing things.
You mentioned earlier some of the session work that you did back in the day. one of the most famous being Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower. What do you recall of that session?
Well, Jimmy and I had heard that we went over to some girls, I forget her name. She was having a few people over. There was a brand new Bob Dylan album out. She had one of the first copies, John Wesley Harding, and did we want to come and hang that afternoon and check it out? And I happened to be with Jimmy, and we went by there. And after Watchtower, at some point, I don't remember exactly, to be honest with you, the details, but I went in the studio with him. I think it was just a few days later, into Olympic, and it was just myself and him and Mitch, and actually Brian Jones was there. Except Brian wasn't really going to be playing anything. I don't think he'd even pick it up. So, and that's how that's how the session was. Basically, just laying the track down with Mitch and Jimmy and myself opposite each other, and I had played the 12-string part, and he had a 6-string acoustic doing some accents on it and stuff. And that's how it got laid down. And then he put the bass on it, and then he put the lead guitar on it. Regardless of how anybody else tells you it went down, I was there, so that's what Wikipedia says, what this says. So that's how it went down.
George Harrison's.
Work with him. George, I'd kind of known on and off because I knew McCartney, and I knew George, and I'd go to Abbey Road occasionally. And George was just a sweet character, you know. There's actually there was a quote in some newspaper did because they were asking about his signature slide stuff. And he said, well, actually, I got into it because it was a part Dave Mason showed me. Amazing. I read this article. I said, I can't believe this. Because when I played with Delaney and Bonnie, who had a big hit with a song called Only You Know and I Know from Alone Together, we were playing at Croydon in London, and Clapton was there to play, and George was there. And there's a song called Coming Home that Delaney and Bonnie did that has Eric and me on it. I'm on playing a slide part, this little line. And I said, well, George, here, let me show you this part. But that's what he was, he showed me this part, and I learned this part with a little bottleneck, and I've never done that, and I started playing. So gave me my first sitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've spoken to other musicians that played on that All Things Must Pass album, and they rank it as one of their most memorable moments in music. Was it pretty much that way for you too?
Well, I got to be perfectly honest with you. I don't remember which tracks I played on.
Oh, really?
I mean, there were so many people, and there was so many different stuff, and it was. So I think it's listed, but off the top of my head, I just don't remember. Mostly I just played some acoustic rhythm guitar.
Yeah. What did Traffic's inclusion into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame mean to you personally?
Well, it was kind of bittersweet because I didn't play with them because of the way whatever it went down, but it was great to it was great to get recognized finally. It's always nice to be recognized for what you did.
Yeah.
And it was actually musically as an induction. I think it was great. I mean, because it was Prince and us and ZZ Top, Jackson Browne, and Bob Seger. I mean, it was incredible, Bill.
That's a good lineup, yeah.
Really. So it was an incredible evening that way. And Prince was he was just awesome. And he went on first. Everybody had to follow that. So it was kind of interesting. And then the other part was, there's still that, there was only Steve and I left, but Steve will never problem is he'll never put anything together with me to do anything. So, and therein lies the rub of the whole thing. So.
It's been a rocky relationship through the years, hasn't it?
Well, it's just, from my point of view, it's just been very. I don't understand it, frankly, and it's just bizarre. So, I don't. At this point in life, I mean, I'll be 67 on Friday. So, to me, it's just I don't get it.
Yeah. How did you feel about Steve and Jim Capaldi touring and recording Inner's Traffic in the 90s?
I'm sorry?
When Steve and Jim got together and toured and recorded Traffic in the 90s, how did that sit with you?
Well, obviously not very nicely.
Not very nicely, yeah. I can understand.
I'm kind of stupid because if I had a dollar for everybody that's asked me over 40 years, when's Traffic going to perform together, it's crazy. It's not just from my point of view. I just know what the audience out there would love to see.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, it was. It's of course, it's just thanks a lot. It's the way it is, Even marriage is tough, I guess. What do you say?
Yeah. You found yourself briefly a member of Fleetwood Mac in the 90s. How do you look back on that time now?
It was interesting. It could have gone somewhere, but it really never had a chance to. Christine did the album, but she wouldn't go on the road. It was, it was interesting, and it served its purpose, but it didn't really, it was something that didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah. Away from music, something I know you're proud of are some of the organisations you're involved with, one of them being Work Vessels for Veterans. Tell us about that.
Well, that's my main, yes, that is my main thrust. And Work Vessels for Veterans, what we do is we help veterans start their own businesses. And we started 5 years ago. We're all volunteer, so there are no, quote, administrative costs.
Mm-hmm.
And we, like I said, we help people start their own businesses. We pass a lot of laptop computers for their education or business. And one of the gentlemen we helped start recently, we helped him start a blueberry farm about 3 years ago now.
Wow.
With the land and the equipment and stuff. And they just got, I forget what the award's called, to be honest with you, but there were 6,000 people. It's the highest civilian honor an American can earn in the U.S., awarded by the president. And he was, out of 12 people out of 6,000, this guy we helped start this farm just got awarded by the White House. So I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the fact that I'm helping some people stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Little Kids Rock is another one that you're involved with. What can you tell us about that?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm all for music education in school. I was brought up with it. I wasn't very good at it, but I had it at school. But to be honest with you, I really don't have any real strong direct involvement with it. I've not been really called on to do any real work. But most of my real energy that way is directed towards the vets.
Yeah. Now, I believe you've been playing in unplugged mode recently. How's that been working for you?
It's going great. It's been really good. It's just myself and another guitar player, singer, and my drummer on percussion. And it's actually been working really good. The only problem is, of course, I don't get to play any electric guitar or lead guitar. I'm basically the rhythm and band. But it's been going over exceptionally well. I'm really surprised.
And in terms of a set list, it's pretty much a cross-section of your career?
Pretty much, yeah. Traffic, solo, 2 or 3 Traffic songs, solo stuff, and some new things.
Dave, for someone who's survived so long and so well in the music business and still going strong today, what's your key to survival in music?
Probably because I'm a tourist. But I ain't giving up. You know, it's like the long run requires some stamina and will.
Yeah.
In anything.
If you could jump into a time machine and go back and speak to a young Dave Mason just starting out, what advice would you make sure you gave him?
I would have told him not to be so damn cavalier in his youth.
And upcoming plans, what can we expect from you in the not too distant future?
Well, I realize in this new day and age, I've been building a very strong community internet foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's building, doubled in about 6 months. And it's about and building an audience out there to communicate with that I can actually, you know, keep making new music that people might want, and doing it directly with them.
Tremendous.
So I'm doing that in the fall. In the new year, I'm actually going to do a show. I'm working on it anyway, called Traffic Jam.
Ah.
So it's a 2-part thing with the first half, sort of a you know, highlights of the songs from the first 2 albums and a little pictorial and some stories and stuff. And then doing the second half with just from my career.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds like a show we would love to see down here. Hope we can get you down here.
Traffic Jam to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is what it's called.
Fantastic. Well, we hope...
yeah, I mean, I would love to come down there. Love to come down there.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Dave,
that's what yes.
Got to thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you. Thanks for all the great music over the years. And I know that you're celebrating a birthday later in the week, so I wish you many happy returns in advance for that too.
All right, well, thanks a lot. Hey, you know what? Do you have my email address?
I do, yes.
Okay, you'll send me a copy of everything?
I will, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you, because I'll post it on the Facebook and stuff.
Yep, no, you can count on that. I'll make sure. As soon as I've got all the information, I'll shoot it to you.
All right, John. Thanks a lot.
Thanks again, Dave.
Bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.